Former Dallas Mayor Laura Miller, thank you so much and welcome to Eye on Politics.
Thank you.
So here we are, a couple days before the Dallas City Council is going to vote, we believe, on what to do with City Hall. Scrap it, sell it, have the land redeveloped by a private developer, or save it and inject hundreds of millions of dollars to fix it, modernize it, etc. Where are you on this?
Well, as the landlord, they should fix it. What is really strange to me is that they would have a vote on this when we just heard that their hopeful tenant, the Mavs, want to go to Valley View. So why the rush? There's no plan for the building. There are no cost estimates on what it's going to cost to demolish it. So there's no plan. So why are we rushing? And what's very telling to me is that the city manager would put on the item late on a Friday night on a special agenda that you can't delay if you're council members. So it's all very non-transparent.
And what, I mean, because you opposed that even beforehand, before the Mavs said no, right?
Correct. We have an IMPay building. It is significant, it is unique, it's been in movies, it's our home, it's our gathering place. And to think that we would scrape it for any reason is, I think, bizarre and not appropriate.
And what do you say to those, like, I mean, Mayor Leppert, his line to me was, it's almost a crime to taxpayers of the city to put that much money into a building.
Well, number one, I do not believe the inflated costs that are being thrown around about the building. And I think that we need to go back and get other people to tell us what it cost. You know, I was there for 5.5 years. Many mayors after me were there. And nobody said that City Hall is falling down. So all of a sudden, in the last 6 months, we have a decrepit building that needs to come down. That building will be around a lot longer than any human being on the planet right now. It is a very strong, solid building.
And so what do you say, though, because, I mean, there have been several firms, you know, I think 4 firms have now said it's going to cost, the latest estimates were that just to fix, put in the new systems, et cetera, anywhere from $531 to $611 million over the next 6 to 10 years in major repairs. Prior estimates were to fix it and modernize it, bring it up to ADA and other standards, would bring it to over $1 billion over a 20-year period. That's a lot of money, right?
Well, when you actually talk to the people that worked in the building for decades and took care of it, and they say these numbers are not accurate, and this is what's really necessary, and this is what we did in the building, and this is what we didn't do, and this is what has to be done now. It's a very different picture. So I think the problem is you've got, the nub of the problem is that you've got 6 council members who don't even know what's going on because the city manager doesn't even talk to them. And that's why we need to get rid of the city manager form of government.
And so, and when you say that, so you're saying get rid of the city manager altogether and have the mayor run the city?
No, the city manager can be the chief operating officer.
Okay.
But the city manager should be hired by the mayor.
And answer to the mayor?
And answer to the mayor and the council.
But the city manager does that now.
Well, no, the city manager isn't accountable to anybody, which is why we're in the problem that we're in. You know, no city manager in my lifetime that I've been covering and serving in City Hall has ever been fired, okay? Some should have been fired, but they weren't fired. There's never enough, there are never 10 of 15 council members that pull the trigger and fire a bad city manager. T.C. Broadnax gutted the entire professional staff of City Hall. That's why we don't have departments that are working right now. The only department that really works is sanitation. I love the sanitation guys. They always pick up the trash. But everybody else is not functioning. And there are lots of people that are new and from out of town, and all the institutional knowledge is gone because of that city manager who was never held accountable for that and actually created an enormous golden parachute and went off to another city with hundreds of thousands of dollars from us as a thank you for gutting the staff.
So what needs to happen? I mean, obviously the charter would have to be changed.
Right.
Is there really a big move afoot?
You know, it's not that there's a big move afoot to change the charter. There's a very big move afoot among citizens and the business community that things aren't working, okay? Look at the streets. The streets haven't looked this bad since we started paving them in 1884, okay? It's unbelievable. My car had a rumble under it 6 months ago. I took it to the dealership in Plano that's always fixed my car. They said there's no rumble. So I drove up there, I was mad. I drove up, I jumped in my car with the mechanic, and we drove around, and I realized there were no potholes in Plano. So there was no rumble, and we were laughing. And so, you know, literally, we have the worst streets we've ever had.
But the city is working on them. I mean, they've had programs, they've had, you know, various bond elections that money's been included.
I was the pothole mayor. I was on pothole trucks. I know how to fix roads, and we are not fixing the roads. Ask anybody in town. And the permitting department doesn't work. We actually bought a building. The city bought a building on Stemmons Freeway for itself that was out of code when they bought it.
Right.
They moved people into a building that was not up to code. Then they realized they couldn't be in the building, and so they had to move everybody out. But they didn't tell the council all the details for a while because it was really embarrassing, okay? This is a city that's working.
So let me ask you about the state of downtown, because there's a lot of discussion. You know, last week we saw Neiman Marcus say, all right, we've got to close our store for good. The Dallas Mavericks said, we are going to leave Victory Park, and our intent is to go up to the former Valley View Mall site in far north Dallas. And the Dallas Stars look like they're going to Plano. The city council's set to vote on it tonight. Right. What did you make of all that?
Well, Ross Perot Jr. recently talked about the fact that he built the AAC to last 50 years. Well, the city manager at the time negotiated a deal with the teams for 30 years. So here we are, and now the teams want out. So that building has another 20 years of life, and I don't know what we're going to do with it. So it's unfortunate. We were out negotiated, as we always are on these arenas. So it's concerning what's happening downtown. But I was just in Chicago for the weekend, and it was shocking to me how beautiful it is. Every street, no potholes. Not one empty parking lot, not one surface parking lot. Flower boxes on every street, fresh flowers in every box, newly planted, mature trees in every sidewalk, so there's shade everywhere, beautiful art everywhere. We can do that. It's not about a sports arena or a convention center. It's about creating an atmosphere downtown where people and residents and tourists all want to be.
And because when I talk to Mayor Johnson, talk to Mayor Leppert, you know, they say City Hall can be sold and use this big space to bring in private development, to create some kind of energy to attract apartments and, you know, some entertainment district to keep people there 24/7. You've got the new convention center going in, et cetera. What do you say to that?
I say, how many empty lots do we have right now in downtown Dallas that people aren't rushing to develop? So what are we going to do? Take down City Hall with no specific plan now, if that's what they vote to do, and then create the largest empty lot in downtown Dallas, hoping that somebody will come and create this magnificent thing that you're talking about? It makes absolutely no sense.
So what would you do? Do what Chicago did as far as like just making the atmosphere more?
Yeah, there's so many things we can do. You know, people forget because I've been out of office for 20 years, but my entire focus in my 5.5 years as mayor was on downtown. Because I grew up, my dad was president of Neiman Marcus in 1977 to 83. And so I would come down from college and see this amazing downtown. And you couldn't even walk down the sidewalk, there were so many people. And Tolbert's was down there, and Sanger Harris, and Neiman Marcus, and it was extraordinary. So when I became mayor, that was my focus. And we had 600 people living in downtown Dallas when I was elected. And now today we have 16,000. So what I tried to do was get the vacant office towers to be apartments. And we started that. We did a lot of that. We did the Mercantile Complex and the gas building. And then Robert Decker chaired a committee for me of all the downtown landowners. And that morphed into the parks plan for downtown. And Deckard put in a lot of his private money, and we put in city money, and Clyde Warren was a part of developing all these parks. And so there's a way to make the city come together and downtown to be vibrant. It is very, very doable, and certainly a lot cheaper than convention centers and sports arenas for people that have enough money to build their own sports arena.
And so you're saying it has to be something where people want to live downtown and almost be a little bit more organic, is what I'm hearing.
But you have to also want people to come downtown. You know, in
Yeah.
Chicago, there are 3 sculptures that are magnificent that private people paid for. And when my husband and I were out, there were just hundreds of people surrounding these sculptures because they were beautiful, and the park was beautiful, and there was shade, and there were food trucks, and water, and people just wanted to hang out. And we can have all that. We have so many wonderful pieces now already downtown. We have the Arts District, we have the West End, we have Dealey Plaza, we have all these things. We need to connect them with shade and flowers, and clean up the sidewalks, and smooth out the roads, and make it a place where people say, let's go downtown today and hang out. We don't have that right now. We can get there much cheaper than we can to, build a $1 billion sports arena, which will cost us an enormous amount of money, because it always does. We are always out negotiated when it comes to giant projects like that.
And what do you think it will take to do what you suggest?
A strong mayor with a vision that can make things happen. I remember so well, we were going to do the Mercantile Bank Building deal, and we negotiated it, and it was exciting. It took months and months and months. And then the city manager decides they don't like the project. So the city manager pulls the plug on the project without telling me or the council. Tells Forest City, goodbye, we don't want to do the deal. So I went to 4 council members, and I said, we're going to fly to Washington, D.C. tomorrow, because Forest City's at a convention, and we're going to go up there, the 5 of us, and we're going to negotiate the deal. And if the city manager doesn't want to come, they don't have to come. And we went up and cut the deal. And that's what a strong mayor can do. I wasn't a strong mayor, I was just a pushy mayor. But if you give some more keys to the city to a really excited mayor, until recently, we've had very excited mayors, okay? Rawlings, Kirk, Leopard, they come in and they're ready to go. And you've got to give them the power to go do why they ran, to fulfill the promises that they made.
And I did have to ask you about, because some people now, they say they still are unhappy that the Cowboys are in Arlington and they're not in Dallas. I'm sure you still hear about it.
I hear about it all the time. And let me tell you something. If Jerry Jones had wanted to be in Dallas, he would be in Dallas. But Jerry Jones just didn't want to. He wanted more money, and we offered him, we said, what if you go to Fair Park and we pay for half the building, then what about all the expense of being in Fair Park? We've got to demolish the Cotton Bowl. We've got to buy out the Starplex amphitheater contract. We've got to lay all the dirt out. We've got to do all the sewer and water and finish the DART station that isn't finished, and it's probably $150 million. So will you pay for that? No. Will you help pay for that? No. Well, we don't have a penny to spend like Arlington does or another city does on building all this. We have to borrow the money, and that'll be $600 million when we're all done. Okay. Well, can we tax the parking and bring it to the city for, no. So I'm sorry, but I just don't think that's a very good deal for the taxpayers.
And you don't have any regrets about that?
I do not.
And what about the AAC? Because I don't think you wanted that either, right?
I want a sports arena, but I want it so that the city also benefits. And what we've always done is we've always, in my opinion, because we've had a city manager form of government and we've never allowed anyone else to come in and negotiate it on our behalf like a business deal. So we give away everything. We give away so much money. And with the AAC, we gave away so much money. I mean, the whole area became a TIF, and then all the money went back into that area for private development around the AAC. And it was a wonderful deal for Ross Perot because he came in, he bought the team, he got all of this, he built everything, and then he sold it all. And great, and now he's off doing, he's very smart, a lot smarter than we were when we negotiated that deal. So, you know, if there's a strong mayor who understands that you have to cut a good deal, you know, I negotiated the Wright Amendment lifting with the mayor of Fort Worth.
Yeah.
He had a business team, I had a business team. The two groups of business leaders met on a regular basis to be trustworthy with each other. Mike and I, the mayor of Fort Worth, we went back and forth between Herb Kelleher and Gerard Arpey, unannounced, would show up in their offices, and we got a deal done. And so, you know, that's what you have to do. And we get run over because we have an unaccountable city manager without the experience to do these kinds of things.
Last question. Do you think the Mavs up at the former Valley View Mall site is a good thing?
I do.
Why?
I think Valley View is huge. It's been empty forever. It's an eyesore. It's big enough for an arena and whatever else they want to build with it. And I just hope that whatever we negotiate is also good for the taxpayers. You know, if you look at Los Angeles, the Los Angeles Rams owner built his stadium with all his own money, period. And he's making plenty of money in return. So I don't have a problem with sports arenas or football stadiums. I have a problem with we only have so much tax dollar money available, and how are we going to spend it, and how are we going to also benefit from building this?
Former Dallas Mayor Laura Miller, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jack.
We appreciate it.
You're welcome.